So in part one, we covered again how Advocate Mnisi brought back forward the plight of accused number 3, Umthobisi Ncube, for being in solitary confinement for over 4 years. This is the interview that Justice Edwin Cameron had with Newsroom Africa, where he speaks about the conditions of prisoners in solitary confinement. This is not new to him. He's done many reports before. He's still just doing interviews, in my opinion. He's just doing lip service. When is he going to take action? However, you know what? He is friends with Judge Rutter, so you know what? A win is a win. We'll take it as a win. Judge Rutter says he will invite him to court come October 7th so that this matter can be discussed to see what can be done to assist Ncube be finally released from the stronghold of Gininda, who Patricia Moshale says Gininda treats SAPS as his own inheritance from his father. Why is Gininda giving instructions over there by prison services, by correctional services? What hold does he have? I received this comment. It says, there are 3 types of confinement I know. 1, health confinement related to issues of health. We know that Unandipa Makutmana is held in the health department for her security reasons. We also know Pastor Mboro over there said he was also in the hospital of the prison. So it's health, but I think it's health in quotations. I think, the VIPs go to health. And then 2, court confinement. Rutter orders the correctional department. This is the one that Mnisi wants Judge Rutter to put in place, but he's hesitating. But you know what? We'll wait and see. We will wait and see. Another comment last week had said, I don't trust Rutter. He's just saying he's bringing his friend over, but will he actually do it? This comment continues to say, then there is also preventative confinement. Baloyi and Gininda prevent the accused from seeing inmates who could communicate useful information so that the real truth shouldn't be communicated in between the accused persons, and only if. Now, it's number 3 that caught my full attention. Because I've been asking myself, why do they want him in there, in solitary confinement, away from others, not seeing anyone, no access to anyone? He's not asking for a laptop. He's not asking for the things that Thabo Bester is asking for. He's just asking, why am I in here for over 4 years plus? Okay. And I think this is it. I think they're avoiding him seeing other inmates who are going to tell him stories, of what possibly, I don't know, this is a theory for me, Gininda searching for, someone to fit the bill. Maybe he was searching for someone with a 9mm who has a 9mm crime, okay? I don't know. That makes sense to me. Number 3 makes sense because it doesn't make sense why Gininda is all up in this. But you know what? I promised you part 2, okay? I almost said James Cameron. No. James Cameron this is not James Cameron. Why am I thinking of James Cameron? This is Justice Edwin Cameron, okay? The boss over there at the JICS, the Judicial Inspection Correctional Services, that just inspects, because as far as I'm concerned, I haven't heard any resolutions they've come up with. Let's go ahead and skip to part 2. I'll be back, of course, with the rest of my commentary.
23 hours a day in isolation, and the inspectorate is saying this amounts to solitary confinement, which is outlawed not only in our country but internationally. All right, let's wrap up this conversation then with Justice Edwin Cameron. Justice Cameron, let's end this conversation on this note. Recently, you would have seen a report. In fact, it went viral because this was a social media post by one of the prisoners, as you made reference to earlier, which prompted one of the many raids that have since been conducted. A prisoner in Cape Town, one of the prisons there, bragging about just how beautiful life is inside prison. Now, you can imagine how that makes people whom these prisoners they've wreaked havoc in their lives, seeing that kind of imagery where prisoners are saying they almost live in hotel-like conditions. I suppose that's just being extreme. But the point here being made is that prisoners do tend to live a slightly better life than a person who perhaps would live in a shack dwelling where they have electricity all night, they have warm water, access to food, and this is something that would possibly be difficult to come by for a person who really does not have the means to make a living. So my question to you is, why should prisoners be allowed civil liberties when they think they have the right to take someone else's life?
It's such a good question, Polly, and the only answer to it is that the way we treat the people we lock up for the terrible things they do reflects on our own humanity. As we sit here, as we listen here, as we participate in this question and answer tonight, we are affected by the fact that there are 155,000 people that we lock up, the 12th highest in the world, the highest number in Africa. And it's not true that they have hot water. Many, many people on these icy nights in jail don't have hot water at all. And I want to say that young man who was very garrulous, he just carried on and on speaking. And I saw the very foolish young man, and he's been made to pay for it. He gave a completely wrong representation of what happens inside prison. But your point remains that nevertheless they have shelter. They have a judicial inspectorate who complains on their behalf if they don't get adequate food or adequate blankets. That is all true, and that is because the severe punishment that is inflicted on them is taking away their human right to decide how they're going to live, where they're going to live, where they're going to move, and how they're going to move. That is the consequence of imprisonment, and everything on top of that is something that affects how we should see ourselves as citizens of a constitutional democracy that is committed to human dignity. The founding value of our democracy after all those years of apartheid and white supremacism before that is human dignity. And prisoners also are entitled to it, no matter what they've done. And if we say that we don't want to let those who've done terrible things escape terrible things being happening to them also, then I think we are on a wrong path.
Justice Edwin Cameron, I want to thank you very much for your time tonight.
And that is Justice Cameron completing his interview, okay, where he talks about the prisoner. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was a viral video that went around where the prisoner was saying, "Oh my God, thank God I'm in prison. Everything is good here. It's like living in a hotel. I don't have to worry about food. I don't have to worry about electricity. Everything is here. We are provided for. So if you think that the crimes that I committed, I can't imagine, I'll see if I can find the video, put it here, but let me know if you don't know the video and I'll look for it and I will post it in a separate video, actually. You know why? Because we got to get into this James Cameron interview. And most importantly, I want to jump to the end as well, where someone from Correctional Services has a lot to say that I already disagree with. But you know what? This is the same Correctional Services that hasn't even issued a letter report to the court of Judge Rata over there in the Pretoria North High Court. They've discussed this via WhatsApp messages with Gininda. Again, Gininda has his hands in everything. Okay, so let's get back to Justice Cameron's interview and some of the things he said. So he says that prisoner gave a false, misrepresentation of what life is like in prison, because hello, they don't even have hot water all the time, let alone water. Okay, he's also calls him a very, very foolish young man who gave the wrong representation of what happens in prison, and they also don't get adequate food, adequate blankets. We saw as well yesterday over there there at the Chillers, okay, a podcast and chill with McG. Shout out again to the Chillers, because you know, I already told you before, I am honored for all the Chillers that checked in the comment section down below. But if you missed it, in the comment section in my previous video actually, but if you missed it and you're a chiller, okay, I had a chiller check in from Australia, I had a chiller check in from Ireland, I have so many other chillers check in. Thank you for that. And that was just so heartwarming, so motivating that chillers also come here to Mzansi Unfiltered. And I just simply say thank you. But I digress, right? Okay. So what happens next? So that's the power of social media. So social media also has, and I spoke about this in previous videos, where social media has a positive impact. At the same time, it can also have a negative impact. So imagine being a criminal, okay, and you saw that guy who was awaiting trial because he wasn't convicted. He was awaiting trial, and he's telling you life in prison is the one, okay? It's better than life outside. Don't worry about it. Commit those crimes and come inside. But what he's not telling you is the dark side, okay? The side where Mboro shared yesterday, and I've seen it in some other prison videos as well, when Mboro says, listen, I had a boss, okay? I had to sleep on the floor and wait for him to allow me to sleep on the sponge. The floor is very cold and you can't open the window even if you wanted to. If he is doing the bathroom things that are done, he's doing right there in front of your eyes. There is no, I'm going my way to the bathroom. As Ramasipili calls it, can we have a comfort break? There are no comfort breaks in prison. What stood out to me is when he said, you have to remember that you are on this side of the bars. Once they shut those bars, those correctional services, they are not there 24/7 to assist you. It is you alone with a stranger. That was enough to keep me out of prison, okay? And he says you have to sleep with one eye open. And it is not that easy, but of course he, just like Meshach Abednego, had the Holy Spirit with him, and he had prayer, and that is what got him through the prison life. Is Mboro telling us the whole truth? I think he's skipping a lot of crucial information. But I'm surprised he's even talking, because his trial is not done. His trial is not thrown out. He's just out on bail. So if he's convicted, there's a possibility he could go back inside Pagati within. What's he going to do when he arrives and they say, what were you saying about me? But I digress. My goodness. So yeah, those are the things that Justice Cameron was saying. I'm so sorry. I keep thinking of James Cameron. Those are the things that Justice Edwin Cameron was saying. Let me know your thoughts of what he's saying. For me, I need to see action more than reports and interviews. Okay, you are acknowledging that this is happening. You're acknowledging that this is not part of human rights. This is not part of dignity. Okay, what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? When will you do it? Okay? But let's also jump straight into the next part, which I think is the most important part. Correctional services speaking for themselves. And take it with a grain of salt. They are selling us a dream, okay? They're selling us a dream of conditions over there. And I understand he's a spokesperson. He can't admit to some of the things that are going on in there. He's got to make it seem like there is law and order over there at the Department of Correctional Services. Let's listen in to what he has to say.
Well, listening to that conversation is Correctional Services Department spokesperson Singabakho Nxumalo, who is here to respond to what this report has found. Mr. Nxumalo, good evening to you and thank you for your time. There are two specific prisons that had a mention tonight. It is the Kgosimampuru Cimex prison in Pretoria and Epongweni Cimex prison in Kokstad. The conditions under which prisoners are held there, 23 hours a day, and the judge says that this is inconsistent with their dignity. How do you respond?
A very good evening, Holly, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to also state our side of the story. I think firstly, it's important to highlight that comparing our facilities to what then used to happen during apartheid is really pushing it too far. What we have today is by far different from what happened during those years, and we wouldn't even want to go back there. South Africa has 2 supermax correctional facilities. It is eBongweni in Kokstad, others call it eBongweni, and CMAX at Hoshimamburu II correctional facilities. And these are supermax. What do we mean by supermax facilities? These are not correctional centers of first instance, meaning no inmate walks from court straight to these facilities, but you are referred there. Why so? It is because of the risk classification. But even if that risk classification is so high that you are a danger to other human beings, it is not correct that South Africa practices solitary confinement. And you've engaged with the Judicial Inspectorate here. We have quarterly meetings, and we do take their reports seriously, and we do share information. And where Jake says to us, look into these practices, see if perhaps there's something that could be done either to relax some of the conditions. We do look into it and to see how best can we then work around that.
Yeah.
Okay, and there lies the answer to why we are only hearing talk, report, interview from Justice Cameron, because he does the report, and once he does the report, he then submits it back to the offenders. It's just a vicious circle where the offenders are like, yeah, we've received the report, we'll take this into consideration. Trash. Okay, this now explains why we don't see any change. Again, accused number 3 has been behind solitary confinement for 4 years. So how many reports have you think have been done? As Mnisi said, they tried it in May. Nothing was done. There's just a back and forth. There's a runaround. There's avoidance. But this guy says it is not apartheid era conditions. Okay, that is an exaggeration. But the inmates themselves are telling you that it is. So why not take a pause and listen and check it for yourself, Mr. Spokesperson? But you know what? Let's continue listening on. Maybe it gets better.
Why are we saying there's no solitary confinement in South Africa? There is no inmate that is kept for 23 hours a day without meaningful engagement.
This relates to the condition in which Mr. Ncube is held at Hoshimamburu prison. I must be very that it is bugging me to an extent that I'm no longer able to concentrate on the business of the day, which is to conduct this trial. We are now at a position where I find it very difficult to get instructions from Mr. Ncube. It has been almost 4 years that he's been held in solitary confinement. The system is systematically lynching him. This is a lynch. Each time he's supposed to get an answer of the reason why he's been held in such a solitary confinement for such a long time, they're ducking and diving. That is a Stalingrad approach. They know that Mr. Ncube has got no money. He cannot afford to fight his legal battles elsewhere. He cannot afford to have an attorney to bring up a substantive application to challenge this gruesome conduct by members of the correctional services. They know very well that he does not have that. And they are exploiting that very same situation. And the only recourse that Mr. Ncube has, it is this court. If this court is serious about upholding the rule of law, I'm going to urge this court to get into the dynamics and find out what is actually happening with Mr. Ncube. Because at the end of it all, this has got negative effect on what is termed a fair trial on Mr. Ncube. We need to ask ourselves, is it really in the interest of justice where a person is facing such a massive trial with such massive allegations against him to be further subjected to this kind of a lynching? It surely can't be in the interest of justice, because they know that being held in a solitary confinement has got a damaging effect on your psychology. It psychologically defeats you. It psychologically drains you. It psychologically renders you vulnerable. At the end of it all, you're supposed to follow the trial, what is happening. You're supposed to formulate your defenses. In the circumstances in which Mr. Ncube is being held, my lord, it does not have that advantage because they are psychologically draining him. This is a systematic lynching on the psychology that Mr. Ncube should be applying in the defense of his case.
Why do we say that? An inmate will get 1 hour exercise if that inmate is in phase 1 at a supermax. After that 1 hour exercise, that inmate will still get time to go take a shower. After that, the inmate is then allowed to access services of specialists to seek an audience with a social worker, be it a psychologist, educationist, another specialist. Or if that inmate will want to make a phone call or receive a visit. And we're saying you look at all these things. You cannot confine them to just 1 hour and say a person is therefore spending 23 hours a day without meaningful engagement.
Let's talk about the exercise. The judge says that looking at that particular exercise, that 1 hour exercise they are given, they say it is in a cage. It's not even in an open space. It's in a cage. Is that true?
And we've responded to that. I think in some interviews, the judge does refer to the response that we've provided. Here, we are not keeping the type of an offender that we'll find at a medium classified facility or even at a maximum facility. These are inmates who are referred to these two centers by other facilities. Why are they there? They are going there for behavioral modification programs. So therefore, mixing them up with other inmates before being assessed will pose a high risk danger even to other offenders, let alone even talking about our own officials. You then have protected spaces where you will then allow them that exercise. Then just calls those areas cages. We are saying it is not cages because it is an area which is well secured. It is in the open where a person is able to at least get to enjoy direct sunlight, is able to exercise freely, and protected even from other offenders who may even attack that person. But why do we have to mention this? It is not like a person will stay there until he's moved to another facility. There are different phases. When you move from phase 1 to phase 2, we then start introducing them to start working in groups. And then when they get to phase 3, that's where they even start to exercise maybe in 3s or in 6s, depending on that risk classification. But there is a process which is well structured and well coordinated so that a person appreciates the need to say, there is a need for me to change so that I can move from level 1 to level 2 and level 3, where they can even start even sharing cells, so that by the time an inmate has spent whatever amount of time that is due to be served at the supermax, you can then send the person to the center of origin, at least having been changed.
What would I have said given the chance to speak with Ngumalo over here, over there at the corrections, what, and done. Okay, I would have said, okay. So you said there's level 1, okay, level 2, they're not cages. Okay, great. I hear you. You know what? I accept everything you've said. Now, help me understand in terms of accused number 3 in the Senzo Meyiwa trial. That is who? Umthobisi Ncube, held over there at the Jose Mampuru, okay, CMAX for 4 years. Just walk me through it exactly the way you did it right there. Give me those levels, what he's gone through, what he has done, because clearly Advocate Nisi and also the accused himself might not be aware of all these sequences you're talking about. So just walk me through his file, okay? Let us know this visitors that he's getting. I mean, even Thabo Bester can tell you there's no visitor access. But you know what? Let's stick to one. Let's just stick to one, and we'll do the same exercise again with Thabo Bester. So you said, okay, it's 1 hour to exercise. So if it was truly as simple as he explained it, with a huge smile on his face, it is great hunky-dory over there inside the prison. Don't you see Max, okay? Why haven't they responded and given Mnisi the report? Why has it been 4 years? What is the security risk? Just basic, simple questions, not rocket science. We'll wait for your official release, Mr. Ngumalo over there.
In a case where an inmate has behaved badly, and what I mean by that is that this person would have gotten into prison not for that terrible a crime, but nonetheless they are imprisoned. But they decide to take a cell phone, make a video of themselves, suggesting that prison is basically almost hotel living. You will know the case I'm referring to in the Western Cape. That person...
They're talking about on-face banks.
Indeed. And that person went and was punished. My understanding is that he may have been subjected to these isolation sort of cells. The argument here, the argument by the judge is that in the first place, for that inmate to have gained access to a gadget like a cell phone and was able to post, the problem starts with the prison officials. What is being done about the behavior of prison officials who allow for these gadgets to enter the prison environment in the first place?
Okay, I think there is a need to clarify something here. The Supermax is not a facility where we just take any person to say, because you've caused an uproar or you have committed another offense, therefore I'm taking you there. These two facilities will only accommodate inmates that are really a challenge, not just to society, even to themselves and to other inmates. Inmates whose classification does pose a high security risk, meaning that they are a serious threat, then they will be taken there strictly for behavioral modification programs. But someone who has been caught with a cell phone saying other things, that person, let's say if you were kept in a medium classified center, you will then be moved to a maximum classified facility where you will lose some of the privileges. So I think we need to be clear about that.
All right.
But then the department has been acting and harshly so against our own officials who are caught on the wrong side of the law, those who continue to embarrass us, those who even think that by working with criminals in a way they will perhaps modify their lives. We're saying, no, there is a reason why you are called a correctional official. Then if you decide that you now want to engage and work with offenders in their criminal behavior, unfortunately, you don't deserve to wear this uniform. We do not just dismiss you, we even open a criminal case against you. We continue to do so. So as a department, it's something which does pain us, but we are saying we're not going to give up. We will get these dirty officials out. It's not many of them, it's only a few, but even if it is 1, 2, or 3, even if it's 20 of them, we will not hesitate to act against them.
Just based on this response alone, you can possibly understand there is no hope for accused number 3, Mr. Mthobisi Ncube. Despite the plans that Umnisi has, correctional services minds are made up. Okay, they see no problem over there in the CMAX. They're following rules and regulations. They have no problems. He is there because, okay, he is a security threat. Now, let's pretend that should this same Mr. Nxumalo right here be brought forward to Judge Ratta's court to answer questions. Maybe, an application is really opened. We start with his affidavit. Of course, he's going to write this glowing affidavit with glowing qualifications. We'll start with his qualifications, where his opinion is based out of, and then in asking him a question, is accused number 3 a security risk? He's going to say yes, absolutely. And no, we are not letting him out. And we're doing everything in our power to make sure that he remains safe, because he's a threat to society. I mean, he killed, allegedly, Senzo Mayiwa, and we just don't want him in general population. He's been there 4 years, but we don't see it as 4 years because we count plus 2 hours. So if you do the plus 2 hours that host told us about, it's not really 4 years. You guys are over exaggerating. And then Judge Ratta is going to listen to him and say, well, he's the correctional expert and he says it has not been 4 years. So no ruling. So in conclusion, all I'm saying, if this is the representation of correctional services and this is what he's saying aloud on national TV, then I'm sorry, I don't believe that anything will be done. I might be, a pessimist, but I'm just basing it just based off of what he just said, because he literally just gave prisons a glowing review. incredible. But that is it from me today. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to comment down below. I definitely want to hear from you. I know this is coming a bit too late. Happy Heritage Day. Okay, what did you do? What did you celebrate? And what is your heritage? Share in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for all your support. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching all the ads. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. It absolutely brings me joy each and every time. Okay, and if you are watching from outside the club, unsubscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss my next upload. Okay, because you're clearly enjoying. I do see that. I actually need to recheck the stats. I did at the time that I had checked a few weeks ago, it was 65% were watching from outside the club. So I do see you're watching. I just would like you to be from inside, Pagat, within, all right? Do the things that make me happy. Thanks so much for watching. I'll definitely catch you on my next upload. I am indebted to the family. Have a great day.